Man who certainly knows what it's like to be in the Big Brother house. Our very own John McCririck joins us on the line now. And first, John, what is it like?
Very, very tense and very nervous. You can imagine what they're doing now, that they're in a hotel room waiting on their own except for a minder, and they're sort of blanked out with what's going on around the world. Anything at all. Now, Jim Davidson, for instance, was meant to be going in the house. He flew in yesterday. That's unusual. They usually sort of keep you locked up a bit longer. Then you're taking a darkened car to the studios, and then you have to go in. So it's very tense, very nervous. And I think the paper summed it up. Tony Paley said in The Guardian, Dettori set to enter Big Brother house in his greatest gamble. And you showed Aussie Jim McGrath. Dettori risks all stepping into the Big Brother house in the Telegraph, and they do. And a lot of careers have been ruined. Of course, a lot of people say that it's people whose careers are on the slide and they got books to sell and all that. That's perfectly true. But you can have meltdowns in there. The pressure on you is enormous in such a long period of time. And the problem with Frankie is, first of all, I'm quite sure he won't do a flying dismount at the top of the stairs and jump into the house. So I'm sure he won't do that. But it is over a long time. Now, he can be the Italian ice cream salesman and jump up and down and keep people laughing. That's all part of his act and his persona, and which has endeared him so much to people in racing for over 20 years. We know what a great man he is and a great lad he is. And, of course, I think the world's outstanding flat race jockey. But there is a darker side to Frankie Dettori, as we all have. He gets a bit depressed, he can get a bit moody, and in 3 weeks, he's going to have to keep all that quiet. So it is difficult for him.
It is tough. But, John, what do you think his motivations are for going into the house? I
think he needs the limelight. I did a few weeks ago £1 Million Drop with Davina McCall. I did it with Frankie, and he was absolutely in tremendous form, really ebullient, and in a sort of the Frankie Dettori that we've come to expect. But he's been going through a traumatic time. The parting with the ways from Godolphin after all these years, and then the drugs ban, not, as we know, for performance-enhancing drugs, but nevertheless a 6-month ban. I think he lacks the limelight. He's recognised wherever he goes. I've been doing other radio programs, and I said people would, of all the people going in, even this X Factor guy that's going in, who's the 3-to-1 favourite, Ryland Clark, he's a 3-to-1 favourite. More people would recognise overall, I believe, Frankie, if he walked down the street. So I think he's lacking that. He's missing being out in Dubai riding. So he feels sort of a hole in his life. It isn't for the money. I think £500,000, good God, I wish they paid that thing when I went in. It would have been very, very nice. It would come in very handy. I was only paid a pittance price. I want you to realise that. So nothing like that. And he is giving some of it to charity, and good for him. He's a magnificent man. I think he'll do racing proud, as Willie Carson did. When he was in the jungle a couple of years ago, he was absolutely terrific. The Willie Carson that we all know. And the pressures were on him as well.
And John, apart from the fee, what did you find the hardest thing when you're in the house?
Well, they're appalling people. I had Jackie Stallone and Brigitte Nielsen and that ghastly model Caprice and Jermaine Greer, who was so bright and so intelligent that just puts me to shame. So I had some awful people that you kind of, a few soap stars and pop stars that you've I've never seen a soap in my life, and that kind of thing. So it's the awful people that you would never speak to. They were talking when I was in the house of all of them having a celebration party after it was all over. I said, I never, ever want to see any of you ever again. It's like being on location when you're filming. You go and film, and all the electricians and all the camera lads and girls and all that kind of thing, but you don't meet up afterwards. You move on. It's another job, and Frankie will find that. But it's how he reacts after, say, a week or 10 days. And my one bit of advice to him is not to act up early, to calm it. It's no good sort of jumping up and down and laughing and buzzing around and being happy and all that, because you can't keep that up. So I think he should ride a waiting race. Be like Harry Ragg, the head waiter, and he's very good at that, Frank, as we know, on the race course. Come late, come steadily, don't upset people, which he needn't do, and hope to keep his sort of depression moods that we all have under control. But I think he'll be fantastic for racing in the house, and I think it'll increase the audience. People say, what are you covering it for? Here we are on ATR, covering this ghastly celebrity Big Brother house. I fully understand that. People can't stand it. But these same people watch soap operas, they watch hospital dramas, cops and robbers, which is all scripted. At least these people are real. They're acting, of course they are, trying to give their own persona. They're public relations people have been telling them what to say and what not to say. Frankie doesn't need any of that. He's been in the public spotlight for well over 20 years. So he is so used to all the media pressure. I think he'll be absolutely fantastic. I'd love him to win. He's a 5-to-1 chance to win. We'll have to see how it goes. But he's have to go. But the only thing I've got also to say, Jess Bryce, what about you going in the house? Now, when I was the eye candy in the house for the girls. You could be the totty for the lads. So what about you going in?
I'm not sure I'll be walking about in my pants, John, that's for sure. On that note, what do you recommend Frankie to pack for his time in the house?
Well, it's a reasonably small case you have. I think they allow them more than we're allowed in our time, but you don't want to start washing your things. I knew I wasn't going to be in for very long. I've been twice in the house, in Celebrity Big Brother in 2005, and the ultimate one, the last one they had on Channel 4, 2010, and I went in and held up a sign, "Evict me, please." I just didn't want to be there. They were paying, so I said, "Evict me." I'm the only person ever been in the house who wants to get out. So I soon antagonised the housemates. So that isn't hard. The public hate me anyway. So out I went. It's what he should take in, I think. He always looks dapper, doesn't he? He always looks well dressed. Frankie Dettori. I'm not saying he should go in suits and all that thing, but whatever he wears, he is always very, very well attired. He's smart. He's clean shaven. He's a man that you wouldn't mind if if he came home with your daughter, except that he's married, of course. But apart from that, he's a tremendous, and what an advert he is for racing. Along with Claire Balding, the most recognised face in racing, and I think we should be very proud that he's going in. Watch him tonight to see how it goes, and maybe one or two people will say, "Oh, Big Brother's not too bad. It's a study in how the human being react." And, of course, Jim Davison won't be in the house now after the mess that he's being in. And so it's interesting who they get in instead.
John,
but Frankie will be one of the senior people there.
Yeah, just on the point you made earlier about people criticising the show, but we'll all be tuned in watching it. And do you think, we've seen some of the reports you referred to, Jim McGuire, Lee Mottershead, I think, in the Racing Post earlier in the week, was pleading with him not to go in. Do you think we're all taking it a bit too seriously? Are racing overreacting? Do we think it's a good thing in the long run?
It is a serious business, and careers can be ruined. People have been saying things and racist remarks and that kind of thing, and being sort of buffoons and badly behaved. Well, I did that, so it didn't do me much good. But it is. You're always under that pressure that something could snap, something could go wrong. It could possibly destroy his career. But I don't believe that. I think that would apply to anyone going into the house, that they are under some sort of a threat like that. But Frankie, I think, is so used to the media. He's done it so often in all the interviews. And you've interviewed him in your time. If you want him to be serious about the horse that he's riding or the gallops or anything like that, he'll be fine. Or if you want him to jump up and down and give a bit of sort of, as I call him, the Italian ice cream salesman, he'll be absolutely tremendous. So I think there's no problem with Frankie because of his media experience. That really will stand him in good stead. But as I said before, as long as he doesn't do a flying dismount from the top of the stairs into the house, as long as he doesn't do that, he should be all right. And I think he'll do racing proud, and all courage and good luck to him. He's going in. It isn't easy walking down those stairs, and I've done it twice. It's absolutely heartbreaking. The first time I did it, I was the first in. So I was wandering around, nobody there, and I said before to them, as long as you don't give me people like Anne Widdecombe, Janet Street Porter, or Germaine Greer, I'll be all right. And what do they do? The second one in was Germaine. So it went downhill from there. So they'll have all sorts of things lined up, and apparently it's going to be a real luxury house at the top of it, and in the basement it's going to be really suffering and miserable and hardship. So Frankie will be able to cope with anything.
John, thank you very much for your insight.
And go in the house yourself, Bryce.
I don't know about that. I've taken a look at the lineup this year. Very interesting. Thanks, John.